Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, today I have the next part of my sit down with John Witherspoon. It's so much fun. We had such a good time talking. We really went through a lot of your questions. We talked mostly about Harry and Meghan and what's going on with the two of them and our thoughts on all their antics and so much more. And again, he takes the time and answers a lot of the things that were on our minds and a lot of the questions that we had. So thank you to John Witherspoon for taking your time and answering those. And I can't wait for you to see this next part of our sit down.
Yeah. I'll tell you the other thing that was so funny too that I happened to see. I've seen it repeatedly, and now there's more angles of it that are coming out. When they went down to the beach to commemorate the tragedy that took place down there, and there's that woman in the white bathing suit.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they used to have back in the day. They used to have the Russians used to have a thing called the hero of the Soviet Union, where if you did something really momentous and outstanding, they would set you up on a podium and they would pin a thing. That woman needs to have. Who she was? If you haven't seen it, she was just lying on the beach. And all of a sudden, this huge crowd comes by. She doesn't even look up to see who are all these people. Oh, there's Harry and Meghan. It was just literally, she didn't even take her eyes off of her book. It was absolutely hilarious. Anyway, that woman needs to be awarded, instead of hero of the Soviet Union, hero of Australia, or
Yeah.
hero of the Southern Hemisphere, a hero of Down Under, something like that, because it was so brilliant that she just, as one person said, no F's given about why are all of a sudden 50 people walking all around me, blocking my son, kicking sand onto me? I just came out here to be by myself and listen to the waves on the beach.
It was obnoxious.
Very
Yeah.
obnoxious. Very
Yeah.
obnoxious.
Absolutely. All they had to do was walk one way or the other way
Right.
down the beach.
Right. Yeah. So, hero of the Southern Hemisphere, the woman, the anonymous woman in the white bathing suit on the towel, who just could not care less about the traveling circus. What did somebody say? Oh, somebody said the other day, it was so brilliant. They're talking about Harry and Meghan. They go on all these quasi royal tours or semi royal tours. They were like, no, these are gawking tours, or these are staring tours. We're going to go down to Pasadena and gawk at the ashes of people's homes. And we're going to go into a hospital in Jordan, or we're going to go into a hospital in Australia and gawk at sick children as though we've never seen them before. I mean,
absolutely.
These are not
just tone deaf and yeah.
Well, and reeking of desperation.
Yes.
Reeking of desperation. Not go visit the kid who is a piano prodigy or whatever. We're going to just, what low-hanging fruit can we find to make ourselves look, oh, let's go find some sick children and buddy up to them and put on a sad face and whatever the
blink,
one tear left eye, or we're going to ask, the allegation is, when this food is delivered to these refugees, does it come with a can opener? We're going to ask deep questions like, it just is so, I hate to use the word pathetic, but that's kind of what comes to mind.
Agree. Yep. Completely agree. Yeah. Yeah. It's a train wreck for sure. And then let's see here. You said there about this rumor of Harry being brought back into the fold. And we kind of discussed that. Any other thoughts on that? Do you feel like?
No, there are some people who talk regularly about how Project Thaw, or I don't believe any of it. I don't believe any of it. I think I don't think that, people are talking about Harry and Meghan still on the royal website. They still have their titles. I don't think that that is part of a grand scheme to re-indoctrinate them and bring them back into the UK and so forth. I think that is solely a function of the fact that the king is, again, I'm as an American, it's not my business and it's not my place to comment on other countries, other leadership. But I think it's generally accepted that the king is very much a pacifist. He's an older, sick man. I think in his heart of hearts, he desperately hopes that he can reconcile with Harry in some way. He hopes in his heart of hearts that he can meet his grandchildren before it's all too late. I think that is the only thing that's influencing the goings on. I do not think that there's a plan to bring Harry and especially Meghan back into the UK.
No.
If she actually sets foot in the UK for the Invictus Games in Birmingham, that'll be an absolute shocker, I think. And I think the king has pretty much said, I'm just going to let things be as they are, not going to rock the boat. And William, I think, has, I suspect, more than expressed his displeasure. So I think the king knows that the problem's going to get solved sooner or later, and it's going to be solved by William. And I just find it inconceivable that the king would actually have some plan to bring Harry back into the fold. If he came back, as I said before, I can conceive of him coming back into the UK to live out a sort of nomadic, again, life where he gets up at 9:30 in the morning. But I cannot conceive him ever doing anything for the royal family in the future.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. There's no way. Even if King Charles wanted it, I don't think William would allow it. And I say good for William.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, once again, it can't be said enough times. Thank goodness for William, especially thank goodness for Catherine. Catherine is the greatest asset that William has, and I think the greatest asset that the monarchy has right now, because she is such a rock star by any metric, and people look at her and they think, she's so great. She wouldn't put up with it. She could have married anybody she wanted, and she picked him. He must be pretty great too.
Yeah.
And I think that in the absence of William, in the absence of Catherine, the royal family would really be in a lot of trouble right now. I think they are in a lot of trouble. I think it's fixable trouble, but I think William and in particular Catherine are going to be the saviors for the monarchy in the UK.
So I think that was all of our talking points. Unless there's anything else on that, I'll ask you some questions from the flock. Was there anything else that are you good with that?
Yeah, happy to do that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So, somebody had asked on the Sandringham agreement, is it classified as a legal document, and can the royal family take legal action for non-adherence?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know for sure. I don't know that anybody knows for sure.
Okay.
I suspect that it's just one of those agreements that you would expect within members of a family.
Okay.
It's not like you're turning over ownership of an automobile or something like that, where there needs to be some sort of written agreement that's signed. It could be the case, but I suspect, and someone might have made some notes, but I doubt that there's anything that has anybody's signature on it. So in the absence of something like that, the answer is it's not something that's going to be legally actionable, I don't think.
Right.
I don't think. It could be legally actionable. It is possible to have a contract that's an oral contract, but lawyers hate them for all the obvious reasons because there's such, it's always a he said, she said type of thing. Right. I would guess, you got to remember at the time that the agreement was agreed to, nobody really knew how bad things were going to get and how much tension there was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, if they had to go through that process again, I suspect maybe they would do it differently, given the allegations that, she delivered the ice cream to somebody and she used HRH on it or something. And I don't think they ever would have envisioned that there would be all these little games played with trying to, there's no half in, half out, but how about 49 in and 51 out? Or, you know what I mean? I don't think that anybody would have ever dreamed that that's the scenario that would have come up, but here we are.
Another question this person had was, if I were to sign an NDA and not sign my name, but just a random name, can it be enforced?
Interesting question, but I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
Because if that went to court, the judge would be kind of irritated and would say, look, you're playing games here. We don't like that. And so it would probably still be enforceable. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that came up was people thought it was just, this is just off the top of my head. In the comments, people were saying that if she made people sign NDAs when they got there, could that be considered, maybe I'm not saying it correctly, but under duress? And would that be, they've talked about types of, is it coercive control, things like that? Like, would it be enforceable? Do you feel? I know we're just guessing, but
right. Well, an NDA is a contract.
Okay.
And the thing you have to remember about contracts is that you cannot be part of a contract for an illegal purpose.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that that's anything, but I mean, for instance, if you say, well, I'm going to, here's a contract for, to rob a bank or to import, however many kilos of whatever from, South America, whatever it is. No, that doesn't work as far as a contract is concerned. The thing that I think is most important that most people miss about all these NDAs that always get talked about in terms of the universe of Harry and Meghan is if you treat people badly enough, people are not even going to care about an NDA. In some cases, they might even say, I don't care if I get caught. I'm going to run my mouth anyway.
Okay.
Because what can happen is, let's say that is the event that transpires. Well, what are Harry and Meghan going to do about it? Are they going to sue this person? Then what do they look like as well? Especially if whatever the person has disclosed is really unflattering to Harry and Meghan, and then all of a sudden, by the way, now you're going to try and recover from this person. I mean, it just looks awful. The real value of an NDA is for, say, let's just hypothetically, let's say you were a senior executive at Coca-Cola and you had access to the recipe for Coca-Cola. Okay, that is a whole different kettle of fish, because then in that case, you've got a fairly easy to compute monetary damage or loss of some sort. And you can go in and you can say, yeah, this person, they either did it maliciously or they did it to try to make a buck, and we're going to try and recover from them and so forth. So that's really where, or if there's some sort of corporate trade secret, or there's a plan to expand a business to, let's say that someone had a loose fruit spread business and a flower sprinkle business, and they had a secret plan to expand to Australia. And they didn't want somebody to jump ahead of them and register, I don't know, as ever, as a trademark for certain products in Australia. That's the kind of thing that an NDA would really be designed to protect against. It's not just, Meghan really treated me in a way that I felt was unprofessional in the workplace,
Right.
that becomes much more tenuous.
Okay.
So,
I'm
by
just
the way, somebody said to me the other day something that I thought was really funny. They said that Meghan had watched The Devil Wears, all these allegations, people's opinion that she's mean-spirited and so forth. They said that there was this joke that people thought she had watched The Devil Wears Prada, and she thought it was a documentary and not a
yeah.
not a fictional. So she thought this is the way you're supposed to behave when you've got employees and you can order people around.
You know
What
what?
does Michael Scott say in The Office?
Just gonna say that. That's right. Yeah. Steak.
Right,
Yeah. He
right,
was yelling steak at Pam. And
right.
he has to figure out what show or movie he's watched that week because he starts taking on the characteristics.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And then he
So,
started being $1 Million Baby. Yeah, anyway, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
That is funny. Yeah, no, that's really good. Whoever said that, that's really funny. Um, you made me lose my train of thought. That was really funny.
Good, good, excellent, excellent.
Oh, it's really good. Okay, hold on. I'm backing up from what you just said. Oh, okay. So, okay, again, total hypothetical game, and we hadn't discussed this beforehand, so this may be impossible, but if you as an attorney have to pick a client to take on, are you taking on Meghan enforcing her NDAs, or are you taking on the group of women that showed up for a retreat and were thrusted NDAs on them?
Oh gosh.
I know. That's a tough one. I just thought I don't know, something doesn't feel right about it. It'd be one thing if I'm told, "Okay, you're going into a private meeting, everybody's gonna sign it, here you go." But if I show up to a girls' retreat and then they're saying, "You have to sign NDAs," I'm like, "Wait, what now? You have to do what?" You know?
Yeah.
So
Well, again, you have to have some sort of the NDA has to be broken somehow. You'd have to kind of know what exactly is the
sure.
problem with this NDA.
Uh-huh.
And again, it's not like as far as I'm aware, there was no, profound corporate strategy or corporate secrets that were discussed at this, in the ballroom at the Intercontinental Hotel.
Or ever, yes.
Yeah, and so if somebody left the room and shot their mouth off,
Uh-huh.
well, okay, what harm have they really caused?
Right.
The thing that's really interesting too, and I was going to make this point about an NDA. Do apparently it was the DJ that took a bunch of these pictures
Oh, right. I did
and
hear
that
that.
scanned the room.
Uh-huh.
So do you think that person signed an NDA?
I don't know.
And I mean, an NDA is, in this type of a context, it's really only worth
Uh-huh.
the word of the person who signs it.
Okay.
Because as I said a minute ago, like if you have some employee that says, I hate Meghan so much, I don't care what she does to me, I'm going to run my mouth off
Right.
to Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. And this came up actually, I think, was it? There was something recently, there was an article where they said 6 people from Archwell had talked. And the thing that I thought didn't get enough attention is that means that 6 people, probably independently, were either approached or they proactively went to whoever the reporter was and said, I have some information, I have a story to tell,
Mm-hmm.
which is absolutely remarkable. But it speaks to the level of discomfort that these people had, that they say, well, I'm just going to run my mouth because I'll feel better. I don't care what happens to me. I'm just going to do it. And so, I mean, that's the kind of thing that Meghan and Harry probably don't realize,
Mm-hmm.
is that unless you can trust the people that have signed the NDA and you
Yeah.
have some level of confidence that they're going to be compliant with the NDA,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really worth a whole lot.
No, I wouldn't think so. Huh. That's interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Is there a such thing? I've never signed an NDA. Is there a such thing as saying, okay, if you come to RHR Gen meeting and you hate all of my everything I do in my meeting, you still can't go online and badmouth me. Is that, you know what I mean? Like, could that be a breach? That's what
Yeah,
I think she would
it
want.
could be a breach, but again, you have to think about, okay, what's the damage that's been done and what are you going to do about it?
True.
Like if you had an employee and you had the employee sign an NDA and the employee quit and then ran their mouth about stuff that was going on your channel,
Right.
what's the harm that's been caused and what degree of punishment? And since it's a civil matter, it would be, some sort of a financial
Arrangement. Yeah.
arrangement or compensation or something. But unless there's really some damages,
True. Yeah. So
um,
it's meant to just maybe scare people into submission or following.
correct.
Got it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Huh. Yeah, I just wondered. It just seems like a lot of hoops to jump through if, for something for trivial, like sound baths and girls' weekends,
Well, but then again, if you're paranoid, if
Oh,
you you know
absolutely.
if you're
Absolutely. If you have
you
stuff
know
to hide, yeah.
right, if you're convinced that Rupert Murdoch is under the bed, when as Harry probably,
Right.
again, I'm
Right.
he probably checks under the bed every night to make sure there's not a member of the British media. But
Monsters and Rupert Murdoch, yeah.
exactly, you got to get the monsters too.
Um,
And
but I had said before, when you're truly successful, and I'm neither here nor there on who I'm a fan of. I don't care, but just pick somebody like Taylor Swift. So successful. Do you think she cares if somebody that doesn't like her comes to her concert? No.
oh, right,
Like,
right,
so
right.
that shows, to your point, paranoia and some sort of awareness that things aren't great. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's almost a Streisand effect type of thing. If Meghan had just done her thing and let whoever into the room, and we all saw about how much attention this British reporter or Australian reporter got, and I don't think she was even interested in reporting. She just had this, I guess, morbid curiosity to see what was going to go on,
mhm.
and they messaged her and said, we've put a refund back on your credit card. We're not going to allow you to come in here. I mean, it's just so weird.
That's so weird.
So weird.
Absolutely agree.
I mean,
Yep.
and this is, we're talking about money as well,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Agree. Yeah.
So it's just weird.
Yeah. Very much. So many things are weird. Yep. That's going to do it for this part of my sit down with John Witherspoon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait for you to see the next part. There's so much more interesting Harry and Meghan stuff that we go into and we cover. So check back for that. And thank you again, John, for your time and for your very thoughtful answers to all of our questions. We appreciate it. All right. I will be back really soon with the next part of my sit down with John Witherspoon. Thanks again. Bye bye.